Chapter 585. Pin it down. Blast it to death. I literally have no clue why that feminine man would appoint such an idiot as our vice captain. Shouldn't the vice captain be a magician who had gone through hundreds of battles like me? Qing Lajiao's hatred was almost on par with the dark abysses. Using the terms of the scientific society that Mo Fan had come from, the members of the Magic Association were like public functionaries and government officials. Every magician with or without titles or factions was under their control. If she were assigned as the vice captain for the team and successfully completed the important mission, it would only be days until she got promoted. After all, she had spent too much time in the intermediate level. If she were given resources that were actually useful to her for once, she was confident that she would break through the barrier of the intermediate level, gain control of her third element, and the stronger advanced spells. Yu Qingsu, why are you being mad over two magicians who are only here to fill the numbers? Let's get rid of this corpse general first. Its strength approaches that of a giant corpse general, said Scarface. Yu Qingsu could not stomach the grudge, yet a mission was a mission. Not only would she be punished if she failed to accomplish it, the whole team would be surrounded by the army of undead, too. Glancing at her surroundings, a new tide of undead was rolling in their direction. If they were left behind, there was no way they could possibly find a way out. The undead would simply stack up like layers of walls. The only way to survive was to regroup with the army. Die. Yu Qingsu seemed to be venting all the hatred in her heart onto the corpse general wrapped in winding sheets. Purple flickers of lightning danced on her right palm, and swiftly transformed into countless lightning serpents striking the corpse general, scorching the air they traveled across. The lightning struck the cloth-wrapped corpse general like whips, but the undead creature was shockingly fast. The lightning strikes ended up hitting the slope where the creature stood a moment ago, leaving scorched marks on the ground. The cloth-wrapped corpse general's gray-white shadow suddenly appeared behind Yu Qingsu with a flicker. Its arms were as nimble as a living human as they waved around, whipping the winding sheet forward and wrapping around her body. Don't get caught by the winding sheet. Otherwise, it will swap its body with yours, reminded Scarface quickly. Scarface was an ice magician. His ice spells needed some time for preparation. The corpse general was not just a mere servant-class zombie. He did not dare to charge at it ruthlessly with the ice chains. Magic Vine. Yu Qingsu was definitely stronger than that. She leapt a great distance backward with quick reflexes while controlling her magic vine to grow out of the ground. The magic vine grew surprisingly fast. It was most likely due to a plant seed that had improved the growing power of her magic vine. The vines rapidly constructed a wall right before the cloth-wrapped corpse general lunged at Yu Qingsu. The winding sheets were flexible, but hard to break free from once they caught their target. However, it was simply meaningless for them to wrap around the wall constructed by the vines. As such, the winding sheets simply returned to their owner's body. The cloth-wrapped cloth general was not brain dead. It quickly threw a punch at Yu Qingsu after retrieving its winding sheets. The winding sheets still played a major role in its attacks. The sheets spread out from the undead and spiraled through the air in the shape of screws. The screws expanded rapidly into a horizontal vortex, giving the impression of a monster with only a giant mouth and an esophagus looking to devour Yu Qingsu together with the wall of vines. So many sheets, just in time for me to stay warm in winter. Fiery Fist, uttered Shorty teasingly, whose little fist turned into the tiny opening of a volcano, firing blazing flames at the winding sheets in the air. The gray-white winding sheets were all set afire. The remaining sheets slowly drifted to the ground. Yu Qingsu immediately broke free from the winding sheets. She glanced at Shorty, whose fist was still on fire, and said coldly, "You should have blasted the corpse general instead." "Don't worry, it's my turn." Fiery Fist. Ground break. Mo Fan spoke up. As Mo Fan slammed his fist on the ground, he directed his fiery energy down. When the surface could no longer endure the erupting flames, the place where the corpse general stood was instantly devoured by rose-colored flames bursting out from the ground. The spectacular fire swept the black mists in the surroundings away. The flames of the groundbreak raged fiercely. When it came to a single target, groundbreak was a lot more effective than a single pillar of the 9 halls. Mo Fan's flames burned fiercely ahead of them. He believed that the groundbreak would inflict serious damage on the corpse general, yet the confident smile about to surface on his face suddenly disappeared, as it was replaced with astonishment when he discovered the corpse general was approaching him rapidly. Damn it, this asshole is pretty quick. Mo Fan finally realized that he had only blasted the afterimage left by the corpse general with his spell. If he was aware of the creature's speed, he would have served it with Fiery Fist, 9 halls instead, leaving it with no chance of dodging the spell. It's hard to land your spells on agile zombies like this, but their bodies are not as sturdy as the enormous corpse generals, so if you manage to land a destructive spell on it, it's pretty much half crippled, Shorty said immediately, as he was also an experienced hunter. You don't need to tell us that. Forest of Kun, said Yu Qingsu disdainfully. The plant element was Yu Qingsu's main element. Her plant seed had the ability to speed up the growth of the Forest of Kun. Normally, the enormous Forest of Kun would require some time to be constructed and set in place. However, her Forest of Kun was readily available to sprout from the ground anytime, entrapping the corpse general in a giant cage of plants before it could reach Mo Fan. Ice Lock. Scarface adeptly utilized the opportunity. He quickly cast his Ice Lock when the corpse general's range of movement was limited. The flying speed of the ice chains was not as fast as the corpse general could move, but the creature no longer had any space to dodge the attack. When the 4 ice chains entered the Forest of Kun, the corpse general kept ramming into the walls while it was pursued by the ice chains. Pin it down tight, I'll blast it to death. Shorty rolled up his sleeves, as if it was his time to shine. Forget about using the Fiery Fist, you will only destroy her forest. Mo Fan stopped Shorty. Yu Qingsu, who had been very aggressive with her attacks, had already drawn another star pattern. Wild purple lightning arcs flickered endlessly around her figure, making her look even more imperious and unstoppable. Chapter 586: Intruding into the Tomb. A great bunch of lightning forked out into their surroundings. As the thickest lightning strike among them landed on its target, the lightning forks spread more vigorously in the air, forking into more branches and further strengthening the effects of the attack. As a result, the lightning strike blasted a hole through the corpse general's body. The flesh under the gray-white winding sheets was scorched black. Half of its shoulder was gone. The cloth-wrapped corpse general was indeed different from the giant corpse general, which had a body like an ox. When Mo Fan was fighting against the giant corpse general, even his third-tier lightning strikes were ineffective against it. Meanwhile, it turned out that even though the cloth-wrapped corpse general was shockingly fast, it was not too difficult to kill it after restricting its movements. The cloth-wrapped corpse general did not seem harmed after suffering the damage. Its eyes emitted a crimson glow as its body began to spin rapidly on the same spot. It continued to spin at a faster speed, turning itself into a metallic drill, digging into the ground. The Forest of Kun did not have roots under the ground. Even if there were roots produced by the spell, they were fairly fragile. As such, if the target was capable of digging into the ground, the Forest of Kun would lose its effectiveness. Soon, the new hole was the only thing left in the Forest of Kun. The corpse general had disappeared without a single trace. Damn it, we let it run away, said Scarface furiously. Isn't that good news for us? We can now regroup with the army. It feels like they have already gone far away. Shorty turned around and glanced at the army advancing into the distance. Yu Qingsu was not too satisfied with the outcome. If she knew the creature was capable of digging into the ground, she would have tied it up with vines first. The cloth-wrapped corpse general was a fairly rare kind she had never encountered before, with many unexpected capabilities. If she were able to secure its undead crystal, it would improve her ranking. A soft, strange sound came from behind Scarface, like someone was stepping on ice. Did any of you hear? Shorty was just about to speak when the ground half frozen by Scarface suddenly cracked open. 2 winding sheets lunged out from the gap suddenly. The winding sheets flew at Scarface. They intertwined and instantly wrapped around the man's throat. However, the big man was able to react quickly. His figure was covered in light the moment he was ambushed. The light brown glow rapidly transformed into plate armor, turning him into a brown armored knight. However, the winding sheets were not intended to inflict any damage to begin with. Even though Scarface was protected by the armor, he was still dragged away by the winding sheets around his neck. While everyone was still reacting, Scarface had already been dragged over 10 meters away, into a yawning tomb that none of them was even aware of in the first place. Save him quick! Yu Qingsu panicked. She immediately chased after Scarface. Unfortunately, Yu Qingsu did not have any movement spells. She had no chance of catching up to Scarface, who was being dragged away rapidly. The whole sequence had only lasted a second. Both Mo Fan and Shorty had no clue what spell they could cast to save the man. He was dragged into the cave. How are we going to save him? Are you implying that we should all jump into it? Shorty went up to the cave, and discovered that it was completely dark inside. Vision was not their true concern, but the cave seemed to be extremely narrow. Magicians are most vulnerable when their enemies are within melee range. If they did not have defensive spells like turtle shells to protect them, they would simply be overwhelmed by mere zombies pouncing at them. If you two aren't going, I'll go myself. Yu Qingsu clenched her teeth and jumped into the cave. Mo Fan and Shorty were left wide-eyed at the entrance. They had no clue what was down there at all. Wasn't it simply committing suicide jumping down like that? What should we do? Are we going down too? Shorty looked at Mo Fan, unable to make a decision. What choice do we have? Let's go down and save them. Little Flame Bell, come out, yelled Mo Fan. Mo Fan began to cast the intermediate star pattern of the summoning element, yet when he was only halfway drawing the star pattern, the little Flame Bell had already come out herself, extending her fist into the sky, as if she had come out to save the world. Mo Fan felt a surge of disgust. He should not have let her watch Ultraman. His contracted beast was now suffering from 8th grader syndrome. Shorty was completely shocked at her display. He was not stunned after witnessing Mo Fan's third element, as those who kept an eye on the rankings surely knew that Mo Fan, who was ranked 5th on the innate talent leaderboard, had 3 elements. The problem was, how the hell did Mo Fan's contracted beast come out when he had only drawn half of the star pattern? It didn't make any sense. The creature most likely has a lineage related to the space element, so she can come and go as she pleases, explained Mo Fan helplessly. Oh, I see. I'm not too fond of going down there. I'm afraid that I won't have the chance to see my son who's going to be born soon, Shorty expressed his real thoughts. Cut the bullshit. Mo Fan did not give Shorty any chance to complain. He lifted Shorty up and asked Flame Bell to light the path ahead, before jumping into the cave after taking a deep breath. Don't do it. Shorty was too tiny compared to Mo Fan, who was simply a wild man, dragging Shorty with him into the cave. The path was straight, more like a well instead of a cave. The place was not covered with soil, but rotting bricks from ancient times. It seemed like someone did build the tomb here in the past. Crap, how are we not at the bottom yet? Shorty was already screaming like a sissy as they fell endlessly in complete darkness. Little Flame Bell was right below them. The fire erupting from her body was lighting the path, yet there was still no sign of the bottom. Finally, a chamber came into sight. Mo Fan squatted slightly as he landed, trying to provide some cushion for the impact. Shorty was not as comfortable as Mo Fan, whose legs were numb from the landing. He immediately cursed in pain. Where's Yu Qingsu? Mo Fan scanned their surroundings, but found no trace of Qing Lajiao. I bet she was dragged away, too. It's not difficult to try and kill the cloth-wrapped corpse general on the surface, but now that we're in its territory, we're most likely doomed, said Shorty, who had been incredibly unwilling to come down here. I thought we were going to see undead everywhere down here. In fact, it's quite spacious. Mo Fan used the light emitted by Flame Bell, the moving light bulb, to check his surroundings. Chapter 587 Imperious Baby, Little Flame Bell. I'm telling you, if my wife becomes a widow, and my son loses his father, it's all your fault. Them jumping into this cave is simply the same as committing suicide by jumping off a building, Shorty did not stop mumbling. Mo Fan let the little flame bell lead the way. Her senses were slightly sharper than a magician's. The little flame bell seemed extraordinarily excited, as it was her first time being in such a fascinating cave. She waved the fiery robe on her body around and proceeded to guide them on. "Stay close," Mo Fan urged Shorty. There was no way Shorty would dare to stay on his own. He quickly caught up to Mo Fan and his little pet. The tomb was extremely spacious, and a lot wider than they had imagined. However, due to the thick presence of death, the light from the flames was unable to spread any distance away. The light produced by the flames could be used as a light source, yet it did not contain the power of the light element, which had the effect of driving darkness away or purifying it. Not only would a single brilliant light clear the presence of death and miasma away, it would also light up the entire chamber. "Let go of him, you disgusting corpse!" An agitated scream came from the darkness ahead. Mo Fan took a closer look and discovered the person to be Yu Qingsu. Her outstanding curves were surrounded by infuriated lightning arcs, producing loud cracks in the air. Mo Fan glanced further ahead and saw a slightly moldy blue pillar. The pillar seemed to be the main support of the chamber, like the trunk of an ancient towering tree rising to the top to support the ceiling. Halfway up the pillar, Scarface was dangling in the air with winding sheets wrapping tightly around his neck. His limbs were tied up, too. Even with his armor, he would simply suffocate to death once he ran out of oxygen after being strangled for too long. Some distance away from the pillar, the cloth-wrapped corpse general was hanging upside down like Spider-Man in the air. Its pair of icy, cunning eyes were staring at Yu Qingsu with a hint of mockery. Black blood was still dripping from the wound after its shoulders were blasted open by the lightning, yet the creature did not seem to care. The cloth-wrapped corpse general uttered a weird chuckle, like a cunning fox which had caught its prey. "Why the hell are you wasting your time talking to it? Let's kill it and regroup with the army." Shorty ran forward, panting heavily. Mo Fan did not want to waste any further time, either. He fixed his gaze on the cloth-wrapped corpse general, which was uttering a weird chuckle. It was obvious that the creature possessed some degree of intelligence, and was waiting for Scarface's armor to fail. Once the armor disappeared, the creature could easily strangle him to death. "Little Flame Bell, exterminate it," said Mo Fan. Little Flame Bell was extremely excited. She flew straight at the corpse general with a pleasant chime. The flames on her body grew stronger and bigger in the process. What the hell is a summoned beast in her youth phase going to do? "Are you treating our lives as a joke?" Yu Qingsu screamed after seeing this. Mo Fan ignored her scream. His eyes continued to scan their surroundings. For some reason, he kept feeling that the cave tomb was not as simple and empty as it seemed. The emptiness was still reasonable, since most zombies had gone to the surface to enjoy themselves a night bath, thus leaving the cave empty. However, the presence of death was too strong to be comforting. Mo Fan's shadow element was sensing an unusual presence in the dark. As Little Flame Bell flew higher in the air, the calamity fire erupting from her body grew stronger. She had turned from a little puff of flame into a rolling fireball with a diameter of over 2 meters. The fireball flew right at the corpse general. The agile creature immediately reacted and switched positions in the air, yet the fireball that Flame Bell had turned into was agile too, since it was the Flame Bell herself. The fireball with a diameter of 2 meters halted in the air for a second, before it flew right in the direction that the corpse general was moving. While the fireball was altering its path, its diameter grew another meter, and was now 3 meters across. The corpse general continued to dodge the fireball. The winding sheets it left behind were burned into ashes within seconds. It was likely that the intelligent corpse general never thought the little fiery creature would possess such an overwhelming power, turning into such a huge fireball. At the center of the fireball, Little Flame Bell uttered a frustrated cry, as if she were trying to say, "Stop running, come and fight an enjoyable battle with me." The corpse general was most likely a living dead, instead of an undead without any sense of intelligence. It felt extremely humiliated being challenged by Little Flame Bell, yet it had no choice but to keep running. Its greatest weapon, the winding sheets, were utterly useless against the calamity fire. On top of that, the fireball that little flame bell had turned into now had a diameter of 4 meters. A fireball with a diameter of 4 meters was utterly horrifying, as its width was twice that of an SUV. Even a giant corpse general with a sturdy defense stood no chance against it. "What are you waiting for, standing there? Go and save him," yelled Mo Fan when he saw Yu Qingsu standing there stunned. Yu Qingsu's eyes widened at the sight before her. A little fiery, calabash sister, in her youth phase, was driving the cunning cloth-wrapped corpse general all over the chamber. It was similar to a little girl who just started going to kindergarten chasing after an adult gangster on the street with a lighter in her hand. Yu Qingsu quickly controlled her magic vines to save Scarface upon recovering. Blue veins had already surfaced on his face. If they had not saved him, he would definitely have run out of breath. As Yu Qingsu was focused on saving the hostage with the magic vines, an eerie shadow appeared behind her. The shadow simply rose to its feet behind her. Its outline resembled a devilish goat standing there. Even its downward curling horns resembled those of a devil. The shadow of the goat-horned creature was holding a sharp object similar to a dagger in its hand. It was trying to silently slice Yu Qingsu's throat open. Yu Qingsu was completely unaware of the creature's presence, since it was merely a lump of shadow. She even assumed it to be Shorty's shadow cast by the blazing flames, yet the shadow was none other than a demon beast, one that was fond of slicing its prey's throat. Light protection. Sacred shield. Shorty cast a light spell in the nick of time. The light element was too effective against dark demon beasts. Even when it was only a pure defensive spell, the light emitted by the sacred shield surrounding Yu Qingsu felt like a soldering iron as it made contact with the creature, which began to utter a weird screech as it was burned. Chapter 588 Throat-Slicing Horned Demon. Yu Qingsu finally realized that the god of death's kiss had just swept past her throat when she heard the cry behind her. Her body subconsciously shivered. What was that? Yu Qingsu had fought against countless undead, yet she had never heard of a creature with goat horns that was able to turn into a lump of shadow. The creature had suffered quite a serious injury from the sacred shield. It fled into the shadows of the chamber while uttering a cry of agony. Yu Qingsu barely saw its savage appearance when she turned her head around. He. You should thank me for being more knowledgeable than most of the so-called experts on the rankings. That creature is a throat-slicing horned demon, one of the most dangerous kinds among the Phantom Generals. Their ability to utilize the shadows to launch their ambushes greatly surpass any shadow magician you've met before. It could even crawl out from the shadows and onto your back without you noticing, and slowly slice your throat open. Many strong magicians like you have died to those creatures. They usually don't prey on ordinary magicians, but select their targets from the elites. If the undead have a leaderboard, that throat-slicing horned demon is surely ranked close to the top, explained Shorty. Mo Fan nodded slightly. No wonder he kept feeling that the cloth-wrapped corpse general was trying to set them up. It turned out that it was simply posing in front of them after it had tons of opportunities to finish Scarface, whom it captured as a hostage. It was purposely trying to catch their attention just so the throat-slicing horned demon could eliminate its greatest threat, Yu Qingsu. Unfortunately, the cloth-wrapped corpse general had made mistakes, too. It was likely that it was planning to keep all of the magicians busy, so they would not be able to keep an eye out for the surprise attack from the throat-slicing horned demon. To its surprise, the little flame bell that Mo Fan had summoned was enough to drive the creature into running wildly around the chamber, giving Shorty plenty of time to observe their surroundings. His light element made him more sensitive toward the darkness in his surroundings, as the two elements naturally repelled one another. The perfectly timed light protection, sacred shield, totally nullified the plans of the two cunning undead. It was impossible to tell how many magicians the two creatures had killed using the same deadly trick. The cloth-wrapped corpse general is most likely not an undead, but a living dead instead. That thing is going to be a disaster if it's left alive. We should kill it at all costs. Same goes with that throat-slicing horned demon too. If it somehow sneaked behind our troop, it would simply slit many of their throats open while they were busy drawing star patterns. Mo Fan said to the others. Mo Fan finally understood Yao Nan's intentions. Their captain had most likely sensed that something was weird about the corpse general, and had purposely sent those who were relatively reliable in his troop to handle the creature. Yao Nan was quite a capable hunter, able to identify potential threats that would lead his entire team to destruction while in the middle of the mess. Shorty, Scarface, Ching Lajiao, you three handle the throat-slicing horned demon. Leave the cloth-wrapped corpse general to me and my daughter, Mo Fan ordered as the team's vice-captain. Yu Qingsu was not as stubborn as before, after witnessing the strength of Mo Fan's summoned beast. Besides, she was not going to allow the creature that almost took her life to run away. With me here, I bet that asshole won't have many corners to hide after I light the place up with a few brilliant lights, said Shorty heroically. Many people assumed that the light element was not as useful as the other elements. The light protection, sacred shield was not as sturdy, nor did it have a huge area of coverage when compared to the rock barrier. The truth was, only mediocre magicians would think that the light element was useless. In special circumstances, for example, when fighting against the throat-slicing horned demon, the usefulness of the light element was fully displayed. As for the other elements, no matter how destructive and effective they were at controlling their enemies, none of them could pose a threat to the throat-slicing horned demon, since they could not even spot the creature. It was simply impossible to inflict any damage on the creature, unless their spells could cover the entire chamber. In addition to that, the creature would continue to hide in the shadows close to the magicians and tail them. As soon as they lowered their guard, blood would be jetting out of their throats. Shorty had gone through a lot as a hunter, and heard lots of stories. He once heard that a group of over 10 hunters consisting of the elites had gone to exterminate the undead in a tomb. They managed to clean the tomb of the undead and were on their way back full of loot from the victorious battle. However, they were killed one by one on the way back. When the team made it to the safe zone, only one person from the team of elite magicians had survived the throat-slicing horned demon. It was the first time Shorty had heard of the vicious Phantom General. Everyone in the team was capable of killing a warrior-level undead on their own, yet they all ended up dying to the throat-slicing horned demon. They were aware of the creature targeting them, yet they simply could not do anything about it, but watch their comrades die one after another. Their greatest misfortune was that none of the magicians in the team was a light magician. If they had just one light magician, they could have prevented the tragedy from happening. Shorty was unwilling to earn a living in other cities, as he knew that light magicians were more valuable in the ancient capital, especially someone like him, whose light element was his primary element. Shorty admitted that it was his first time encountering a throat-slicing horned demon, yet any light magician was like a bane to dark creatures like the throat-slicing horned demon. A brilliant light with exceedingly huge coverage could simply light up the whole chamber. No matter where the throat-slicing horned demon was hiding, when the white glow descended upon the place, it would clearly reveal its position. Brilliant light. A ball of light appeared on Shorty's palm. As he threw the spell into the air, the ball of light immediately turned into countless rays, pouring down in the chamber. The light quickly purified the strong presence of death, driving the darkness away. Yu Qingsu scanned her surroundings, searching for the throat-slicing horned demon. The light was extremely bright, enough for her to see the entire chamber clearly. However, even when the light had filled every corner in the chamber, she still failed to spot the throat-slicing horned demon. "Has it run away using other passage?" asked Yu Qingsu with a frown. "Humph, that asshole dares to outsmart us? If we can't see it after lighting up the whole chamber, it means that it's hiding behind the pillar." Shorty grinned, looking down at the sly trick that the throat-slicing horned demon was using on them. Yu Qingsu did not waste any time further. She quickly directed the lightning about her hand toward the spot behind the pillar. The lightning arcs conducted rapidly along the ground, surging toward the pillar. The unexpected curves of the lightning arcs implied that something was hiding behind the pillar. As more lightning arcs arrived at the spot, they quickly framed the silhouette of the creature. Lightning Strike was only a basic spell, after all, thus its paralyzing effect was not strong enough to handle the throat-slicing horned demon. The creature immediately ran away when it realized that its position was compromised. I'll keep casting Brilliant Light to prevent it from running away using the shadows. You too will hunt it down. As long as the creature is unable to flee into the shadows, it's no different than a servant-class undead, said Shorty with a smile. Scarface, who had finally caught his breath, raised his thumb at Shorty. Both he and Yu Qingsu chased after the throat-slicing horned demon, as the hatred they bore had reached the limit after they almost lost their lives.